Step carefully. Yeah, the ground right here is, well, it's pretty uneven. It's actually fractured by thoughts that were supposed to outlast eternity. Welcome to this explainer. I'm going to be your guide today. I'm just a wandering witness, someone forever corrupted and changed by all this decay you see around us. Just look at these surreal, towering architectural ruins spiraling up into that pale sky. It's wild. This isn't just rubble, it's literally the physical manifestation of supreme hubris. So today, we're going to explore a really dark, cautionary folktale about the desperate need for control and the horrific cost of trying to cage the infinite.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Can you feel that heavy, almost crushing weight in the air here? I feel it constantly. That is the lingering density of the last thinker's absolute failure. You see, he looked at existence and he didn't see wonder. Not at all. He saw a meaningless error, a chaotic, swirling broth. I mean, just imagine standing amidst this decaying geometry with me, feeling the sheer arrogance of a mind that looked at the vast, terrifying beauty of the cosmos and just decided it was wrong?
So, moving into Chapter 1, The Cold Titan's Dawn.
Picture the shadows of the mind's very first awakening. Right out of that primordial mist, the last thinker emerged. He was this cold titan of pure logic, completely wrapped up in the cynical shroud of Sinos the Pale. And from that dawn, we can track his descent into an epoch of dread. He had this hollow, gnawing dread of what he actually called the void's messy mischief. He just craved absolute stillness. So to get it, to finally silence the noise of that chaotic broth, he forged a dark, desperate pact with the creed of the mind, the primordial id. He literally traded his connection to the cosmos just for the power to enforce his own will. That brings us to Chapter 2, Architecture of Frozen Perfection. Now, what's really interesting about this is that his pact birthed a terrible construction project. Because he couldn't just exist in the universe, right? He had to conquer it. So he started raising this grim mental fortress, using an architecture of Apollonian gaskets and gilded cages. But this wasn't just a wall. It was an immutable architecture of frozen perfection, like a highly intricate, mathematically flawless prison designed specifically to impose a regime of what he called static control. He honestly believed that through sheer force of intellect, he could build an eternal, logical cage that would hold back the terrifying, unpredictable tide of the chaotic broth forever. The arrogance is almost blinding when you actually weigh these two forces against each other. On one side, you have the architect's static control, which is rigid, frozen, and grim. And on the other, you've got the fluid spirit of reality, this chaotic, messy, unbridled broth. Honestly, how could one titan, no matter how powerful his intellect was, construct a static cage for a universe that intrinsically demands infinite, meaningless, and beautiful motion? It's crazy. It was basically a war against the very nature of existence itself. Let's look at Chapter 3, The Crimson Mask Revealed. So, the crucial point here is that this supposedly perfect fortress harbored a rotting core. Right beneath his black, mocking, priestly robes of logic, the last thinker was secretly wedded to the veil of Maya, the all-consuming Ma. Despite all of his high and mighty preaching about static control and frozen perfection, the architect was entirely bound to the exact blood-slicked chaos he claimed to despise. His grand quest for absolute order? Yeah. It was nothing but a stage play, just a theatrical performance put on for the void, while in secret, he worshipped the very hunger he was trying to cage. To do this, he donned a crimson mask. It's such a visceral, terrifying symbol because it means his monument to hubris was always a totally hollow victory. I mean, think about it. He built a fortress of logic while his heart belonged to the maw. The whole foundation was rotten from the very start. All it needed was a little push, just a single spark to ignite all that hypocrisy. Which leads into Chapter 4, Laughter of the Wit. And then, suddenly, the air just changed. The stifling silence of the fortress was completely shattered by the wit, this chaotic embodiment of ego. And the beautiful thing is, the wit didn't use arguments. He didn't use logic. He used the unbinding power of the absurd. It was laughter. Laughter like a jagged blade slicing right through the heavy, suffocating silence of the architect's deception. It was a sound that made the very geometry of the mind tremble. The sound of it was unbelievable. This jagged, erratic staccato rhythm of pure mockery, echoing off the Apollonian gaskets. With every single burst of laughter, the immutable architecture actually began to blister. The rigid structures of static control didn't just casually break, they violently peeled away like dead skin from a rotting corpse. The logic was literally sloughing off, exposing all that pulsing chaos underneath. The unbinding power of the absurd. Behold the destruction. Those mocking words spat right from the grinning mouth of the wit, delivered with this sharp, jarring, triumphant sneer. I can still hear them echoing through these ruins even now. Because, you see, the absurd is the only true weapon against a lie disguised as perfect logic. The unbinding had officially begun. Next up is Chapter 5, The Surreal Playhouse. And this brilliantly illustrates what happened next. As I stood there, just a corrupted witness watching this absolute cosmic collapse, the sheer awe of the devastation really took hold of me. The immutable, rigid stillness of the fortress wasn't just broken. It was actively melting into this fermenting, surreal playhouse. The creed of the cosmic mind, which was once carved in stone, just dissolved, like disappearing ink on a page left utterly blank. The humiliating revelation struck the architect with the force of a dying star. It proved that the rigid intellect is but a frail mask worn to hide the churning hunger of the maw. Inside the fortress, the laws of logic underwent this slow, fermenting death. All that frozen perfection simply melted down into what we call the logic of the crucible. The absolute truth was finally laid bare for everyone to see. The maw eventually devours all certainty. No exceptions. And finally, Chapter 6, A Submissive Grave Dance. Let's move to this next part and see how this all builds to the end. Imagine the last thinker right now, completely trapped in this grim, Gothic theater of his own making, surrounded entirely by the melted, surreal ruins of his grand illusion. First off, he is stripped entirely of his unearned majesty. Done. Then comes the really agonizing acknowledgement that the spirit of becoming simply cannot be bridled by the geometry of the mind. So condemned to perform a perpetual, pathetic grave dance upon his shattered ruins, he finally submits. He finally truly understands the true meaning thrives only in the dark, fertile ground of the void. He's no longer a master of stasis, not at all. He is just a submissive witness to the infinite, meaningless motion of the broth. Now look at me, as you sway here with me in the wreckage of a dream that was always, always destined to vanish. I really have to ask you, are you too building gilded cages of logic to hide from the void's messy mischief? What crimson mask are you secretly wearing beneath your own intellect? Seriously, think on that before the wit comes laughing for your fortress too.